So the first perceptual position of NLP, that's the position of self, of you, looking through your own eyes. This is where you experience an emotion. This is what are you after? What is your positive intent? What is it, your goal? What are you feeling? If you view this from a camera point of view, it would be looking through your own eyes at the world, experiencing it as real. In this first perceptual position, you could be in the present time. A good example is, for instance, when you have a fight, you tend to not listen, and this is what I want, you don't understand me. That's a good example of this first perceptual position. Fight or flight could be another example. This is what are you really after, and you're a clear sense of who you are. Now that's a really good position to be in, to sort of like stand your own ground, to even understand your own emotion. It's also a place of self-awareness, especially if it's very well developed. But the downside of this position is that if you kind of are stuck in this position, then what you're dealing with is that you may be perceived as selfish by other people, only understanding what you're after. But also it's a real hindrance for really great communication with other people, because you're always operating from what you want, your own emotions, and that may not be necessarily the best place to communicate, because you start to become unaware of other people's position, or an awareness of how to sort of like be an observer and not be in your own emotion the whole time, etc. And so that's a little bit the first perceptual position of NLP. You can also step into this first perceptual position in the past. Literally go back in time and sort of like, well, what was I feeling, hearing, and seeing and experiencing in that moment in the past? That can be a positive experience where you had resources, where you were confident, where you had a happy memory, let's say. But it can also be in a negative way, going sort of like getting stuck inside a conflict, let's say, and sort of like, this person doesn't understand me, and some people can hold on to this for life, and that's a little bit what the Postmaster also addresses, is how can you let go, particularly of very early on installations in the past, particularly ones that are installed by your critical parents. The first perceptual position is also relevant for the future. In goal setting, it's constantly future pacing, stepping to the future you in the future, as to what is it that you would experience the moment that you reach your goal. Then you see, hear, and feel that moment in time. It's a very big motivational tool as well. Because from this place of motivation, if you already know what it feels like to reach a goal, then it's a motivational propulsion point to want to reach that goal. You also get an additional sense of clarity as to how the goal can be reached, let's say. And so those are really beautiful ways to experience that perceptual position in the future. Now, also a thing like a negative emotion, like anxiety, worrying about something that may happen in the future, and sort of imagine that as if it's real, that causes anxiety or that causes stress. And especially when you don't have information, that equals anxiety. The emotion of anxiety tends to occur when you don't have enough information. It causes stress, and especially if you future pace that and things going wrong, then this first perceptual position in the future can really go haywire. Now, we've also learned in timelining, for those of you who did Master Practitioner, there are easy ways to sort of collapse that problem with that negative what if, that negative anxiety. And the Postmaster Practitioner ends up addressing, how do you deal with that negative self-talk? How do you deal with a situation where the anxiety is chronic and keeps coming back and starts tying into limiting beliefs, which there could be many of, some of that you are consciously aware of, and some of them that you're unconsciously aware of. So that's sort of like where that perceptual position can come into play in both a negative as well as a positive way. So in the next video, we're going to the second perceptual position of NLP.